Hello, the average cyclist here, and welcome to my review of the Tacx Flow T2240 Smart Trainer. So I bought this trainer about 10 months ago. I bought it from Halfords in the UK. I managed to get a really good deal on it because I got 10% off through buying gift vouchers through a scheme at work, and then I also used the British cycling discount, which gets you 10% off at Halfords as well. So I think it came to about £160 from Halfords, which at the time was the cheapest smart trainer by a country mile. Haven't looked at what's on the market at the moment, but I expect it's probably around about the same price for this particular model. What you get in the box is the trainer itself. Comes in two parts, with the stand here, and then I don't know what you call this, the controllable unit. Piece of piss to put together. There's just two Allen bolts through here. There are two positions for this unit though, one to fit 700C wheels like I've set it up for my road bike, but also another so you can fit 600 or 650B wheels or mountain bike wheels in there as well. You get front wheel riser, which quite conveniently fits in here for storage, and of course this folds up as well, so this is the trainer folded up. I have put the wheel riser in there as well. The unit, the controllable unit, does stick out like that on the back, and you do have to remove the Allen bolts to remove it, so it does stick out a bit. But you know, that's easily going to fit in a cupboard if you don't have the space to leave it set up like I do. So this should give you an idea how much room you need to use it. I leave my bike in it, and it's set up in this little space down here down the side of the sofa. Doesn't need to move anything at all to ride it. My legs won't hit the sofa or the fan as it's set up here. The fan's nice and close. You do definitely need a fan, so if you do decide to make the purchase for a turbo trainer, make sure you get a fan of some description. This one was 15 quid, which is the cheapest one on Amazon. I wouldn't recommend it, it's a bit shit, but definitely get something, and you probably want one of these on a pedestal, is that what it's called? On a pole as well. You obviously need two power sources, one for the trainer, one for your fan, and if you're using a laptop or charging your iPad or something, then you're probably going to need another one as well. But works just fine for me. Only thing is there's a heater there, a radiator, so I just need to turn that off if I'm riding and the heating's on. But as you can see, it doesn't take much room up at all. So some of the more important specifications here: max power at 40 kilometers, 800 watts. So that means that it will apply 800 watts of resistance. You can apply more power than that. In one of the clips I'll include in this video, I'm putting out about 1,100. It's not a problem, it just means that the unit is no longer going to be providing any more resistance. It's a bit like when you try to put out your max power on a flat road. It's quite difficult because there's not enough resistance against it if you're already overcoming the wind resistance. So if you are a bit of a beast, you might want to look at something a little bit more powerful, but obviously it's gonna cost you a bit more. Maximum slope 6%. So that means when you're using this as a controllable trainer in Zwift or in any other apps, it'll only apply resistance of up to 6%. Some of the direct drive and more expensive trainers do go up to 20%, but for most people who are just, you know, if you're not that seriously training for racing or anything, this is more than enough. It certainly feels somewhat realistic when you're riding the bike. And then here again, suitable bikes, 26 to 29 inch and 5mm rear axle adapters for other bikes available. They're not included in the box though. You do also get a steel quick release skewer, which they recommend you use. They don't want you to be using any lightweight any lightweight skewers when you're on your trainer, because there's quite a lot of tension in the skewer, and then with particularly my fat ass at the top of the saddle, it's quite a lot of weight moving from left to right, and you don't want that skewer to snap. I just leave that one on the bike the whole time. It's not an issue. It's only sort of 50 grams or something silly like that. Data output and control, both ANT Plus and Bluetooth Smart, so you can use your tablet or phone if it's got Bluetooth 4.0, and similarly with a computer, if your computer's got Bluetooth 4.0, you can use that. Mine doesn't, so I had to buy a ANT Plus adapter. So here you can say computer with ANT Plus antenna, which is this little device here. It's a tiny little USB. It's made by Sun2. 15 quid from Amazon, and then I'm using this USB extension cable so I can sit it under the bike to make sure I get a good signal, and that was just a 150 from eBay. Works perfectly well with my laptop in this. Also, because of my heart rate monitor only being ANT Plus, I can use my heart rate monitor with it as well when I use my laptop. Just for convenience though, since I put the tri-bars back on the bike, nearly all my riding has just been using the iPad. Not worried about heart rate particularly when I'm indoors. And because my power meter and the trainer are both Bluetooth, that's all I need. It'll work with anything, to be fair. They've listed out a few here: Zwift and Trainer Road and the Tacx trainer software. But any software which can receive inputs in those in ANT Plus or Bluetooth, it will work with. And then, more important thing here, accuracy plus or minus 10%. So for the power estimates, it's plus or minus 10%. And I've done a comparison which I'll get to in a minute. But that's pretty good, especially on a trainer for this price. And as long as it's consistent, even if it's 10% wrong, as long as it's 10% wrong all the time, that's fine. When I first started using this, I didn't have a power meter, so I was only using the power estimate, and I did a few FTP tests using the device itself, and just as a measure, just to gauge where you are, absolutely fine. Unless you're really serious or you're a pro, it's good enough. So that's the geeky bits. When it comes to actually installing the bike in the trainer, it's very easy. This little clasp is really, really good. Much better than on the dumb trainer I used to have. So you adjust this to move this holder in or out, so it fits the width of your axle. And then this is a lock nut, so do that one up tight when you've got it about right. And then this lever here, you can see it's applying pressure to the thing, and then you press it all the way and it will click. It should be quite a satisfying click, and you don't want it to be coming out once you're riding, but it is really quite nice. Can't go wrong with it. Once you've got the bike in the trainer, this lever here applies the flywheel to your tyre. You need to twist this little thing here to change the amount of force that the flywheel applies to your bike. It took me a few goes to get it about right, but once you've got it done, you then click down there, and then as you can see, the flywheel is attached to the wheel there. The instructions on how to get this right and using the calibration app are not bad. I've only done it twice, I think, since I've had it, and it's been absolutely fine. The main thing you want to make sure is just like your wheel's not slipping too much. If you haven't got enough pressure, you'll hear it as well. So obviously you get the hum of your bike and the hum of the motor here. But if you haven't got enough pressure against the roller, when you put out a little burst of power, you might feel the wheel slip, but also you get a sort of high-pitched squeak. But there is an app which you can use to help calibrate that, and also the better you've got the amount of pressure on the wheel here, the better your readings will be for the power. I just tend to use my standard bike tyre in here. I haven't actually been riding outside for a couple of months because I've done my knee in, so I've only been doing gentle rides inside on the trainer. As you can see, there is some slight wear on the tyre there. They do recommend that you get a trainer-specific tyre, as the heat tends to build up in the tyre a lot more than when you're out on the road. I've never bothered, and just for the hassle that it causes, if you haven't got a separate set of wheels, it's an absolute nightmare. So I would rather just let the tyre wore down a bit quicker and then bought a new one. But that's personal preference. One thing to remember is try to make sure that the tyre is clean. So if you've been riding outside, make sure you wipe any shit off the tyre, because otherwise you might end up with puncture or that wear, maybe worse than necessary. So the build quality itself on the trainer is fantastic. Absolute no worries with it. It's rock solid. Standing up and sprinting, you don't feel like you're going to fall over at all. Absolutely no complaints. Software seems pretty good as well. You do get quite a realistic feel from Zwift, at least. I've primarily used it with Zwift. So as the percentage gradient goes up on the road on Zwift, you can feel the difference in the resistance that the train is applying. Similarly, when you're drafting behind people, you really can feel the resistance go down as you get the benefit of drafting behind them. The unit itself is absolutely fantastic, cannot complain at all. So as you can see here, you can select all your devices. Easy to do. You can see I've got one controllable trainer here, which is the Tacx Flow, connected via Bluetooth, and then there's my power meter as well. And as you can see here, you can use either the power reading from the Tacx or a power meter from power meter if you have one. Heart rate, I haven't got anything connected at the moment because my heart rate monitor is only AMP+. I'm getting a new one for Christmas though, which is Bluetooth, which should be nice. And then I haven't got a speed sensor on here because I usually use my Wahoo here. And cadence also comes from the power meter. If you've got all Bluetooth connected accessories, then you can just use an iPad with Bluetooth. Otherwise, if you've got AMP+ stuff, you probably want to use your laptop with an AMP+ dongle. So I've done a bit of a comparison here, comparing the power estimate output from the Tacx and the more accurate power from my 4i power meter. And obviously there's probably a little bit of variation in the reading from the 4i power meter, but I'm going to assume for the purpose here that it's more accurate than the Tacx. You should be able to see the two median lines going across the graph there, and as you can see they're very close. The 4i power just tailing a little bit under the output from the Tacx. The only other difference is in the really extreme peaks. As you can see, the 4i power estimate on the red line is a little bit higher than the blue of the Tacx. I think that might just be due to the way that the Tacx algorithm is calculating the estimate. And similarly, where the power stops, if I stop pedaling on my power meter, you can see that the power completely drops to zero almost straight away. Whereas if the wheel is still spinning on the Tacx, obviously it thinks that there's some pedaling still happening because all it's using is the speed of the flywheel to calculate this estimate. So bearing that in mind, it does a very good job, and it seems to be pretty reliable, more than good enough for most people. So I wasn't going to include this, but I think some people might find it interesting. This is a comparison of the cadence readings from my power meter, which is on the crank arm, and then the estimate of the cadence which the Tacx produces. Similar story to the power, really. It's a little bit more accurate than I expected it to be, but it's not that reliable. You can see again where the wheel is continuing to spin that the Tacx is assuming that there is some cadence happening, whereas obviously with a real cadence sensor, it's aware that the cadence has stopped. Little comparison table here. You can see that it's well within, for the power, it's well within the 10% estimate. I'll include the ride in which I calculated these values in the comments section below, if anybody's interested, just to do their own analysis at all. So overall, for the money, I really don't think you can complain about any point on this trainer. I had a dumb trainer for about 3 years, and I used it maybe a dozen times. Just couldn't stand training indoors. Too hot, absolutely boring. So just never got used. I bought this sort of on a whim, thinking if I didn't use it, I would just sell it. And I've used it pretty much consistently over the past 10 months. Zwift's been a big help with that, but it has really, particularly recently when I've had a knee injury, it has been brilliant just to gradually build up indoors. And now the weather is looking much worse. It really does just allow you to keep training, and without dying of boredom. Please like and subscribe, and if you do have any comments, just leave them below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I will also include in the description a link to the review of my power meter, the 4i Precision, which have been using primarily with the trainer for the last at least 6 or 7 months, as I think a lot of people who are a little bit more serious may consider this as an option, just as a controllable trainer, and then use power from their power meter, and this is a fantastic option. The whole lot is under £700. Thanks for listening.